Just like the analogy with the guy that is chipping away in the diamond mine, and you see the diamond on the other side, but you don't see, and you see how thin he was. He was one hit away from the diamond, but then he was walking the other way, right? You never truly know how close you are, and that day 30 could be tomorrow. What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to another Thursday podcast morning takeaway. Today is going to be super quick. I always say that and then it ends up being like 27 minutes and like 3 days of your life. But I want to talk on something that I put on my story the other day, and it's really just a life metaphor, and I heard it on a podcast. Interestingly enough, I heard it the day after I heard this really cool comparison about the lotus flower, and I got super obsessed with the lotus flower and the idea of it growing in a swamp. And I'm going to do a whole podcast on that one in and of itself. But then literally the next day, I listened to these podcasts and kind of motivational, like metaphors, all this on my morning walk, my barefoot walk in the morning at about 5 a.m. every single day. And it was literally the exact same time between 24 hours that I heard about this lotus flower in a swamp, and the next day about this lily pads metaphor in a swamp or a pond. And it blew my mind because, one, I think everybody loves a good life metaphor, but also the timing of it was just quite ridiculous. And the fact that it hit me so hard both days was just like, I don't know, it was smacking me in the face, and I became super obsessed with ponds, for lack of a better way to put it. So I want to dive into this lily pads metaphor with you today, kind of give you my takeaway from it. And we're a full week after the fact that I heard this, and I'm still obsessing over both of them. But I think this second metaphor with the lily pads is a little more kind of whoa. So I want to dive into it. Before we get going, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Send it to your friends. If you take something away, I would greatly appreciate it. That's the best way you can help me out. That's the end of my YouTube pitch. Here we go. So, did you know that lily pads double in size every single day? So, over a 30-day period, a pond will be covered in lily pads, right? The entire pond, all you will see is lily pads. But if you think about it, and you think about a pond, you don't really ever see, I guess unless you're there at the right time, the full pond covered in lily pads. So if it takes 30 days for lily pads to cover the entire pond, what day is the pond halfway full? Well, instinctively, and to my own, I thought the same thing. Instinctively, we think day 15. However, it wasn't until day 29 of 30, the day before that it was full, that it was halfway full. And until day 28, that a quarter of the pond was full, and so on and so forth. And if you start to see that trend, that day 15, there's probably barely any lily pads. And this whole metaphor of the idea of the compound effect and the little things that go unseen and stack on top of each other and eventually compound to be something so big and great and beautiful. It's one of the crazier life metaphors that I've come across, in the sense that, and I talk about it all the time, the attention to detail on a daily basis, the suffering the pain of discipline versus suffering the pain of regret. And what do I mean by that? The idea that you would rather suffer getting up at 5 a.m. every single day and hating it, but by 7 a.m. you're awake, alive, and feeling good about yourself because you're awake before half the world, right? And that's per human, right? It's relative. But that pain and initial, I don't want to get up right now, is well more worth it. I just really baffled those words, stumbled over them. It's way more worth it than the idea of taking the easy route or staying in bed is the easiest example, right? The regret that you might have for saying, oh, I should have started my workout program today, or instead of gaining that momentum, the only way, and I stand by Tony Robbins when he says this, the action creates progress, and progress creates happiness. Progress creates momentum, and then momentum creates happiness. And that's a whole nother podcast topic in itself around happiness, but I do think that we can all relate to when you attack a to-do list and you take action, and these little bitty itsy bitsy habits, over time it starts to become something really spectacular. You may not know it, you may not love it, but if you're going on a journey to lose 100 pounds or save $100,000, then putting away $1 every single day, putting away an emotional, physical investment in the gym every single day is gonna compound over a given 30-day period when those lily pads are popping up, right? And by day 29, you may gain the most momentum on that $100,000 or that losing that 100 pounds, whatever the goal might be. And quite honestly, you might not really know what you're manifesting, and then it just happened. And these things just kind of come together, and the universe knows and feels your energy, and you start to attract the right people, places, things, connections, it all intertwines. And I think this metaphor really just kind of kicked me down a rabbit hole of thinking how easy that metaphor is to grasp compared to just sitting here and preaching like, hey, if you don't do one dish every single time you use a dish over the course of the day, at the end of the day, you're going to spend 45 minutes cleaning up your dishwasher or putting things in the dishwasher, as opposed to taking 15 seconds to rinse something off, toss it in the dishwasher, and then you don't have to do your dishes at night, right? It's just little things like that. I think it's a little easier to break down when you hear it in the perspective of the pond, and you can imagine that as opposed to talking about dishes, right? So I think that's a huge takeaway for me, and however you choose to apply that in your life or work or goals or whatever it might be, I think it's just a good way to approach your day, because you may not even know that day 30 is around the corner. And yeah, you could have a goal set with a timeline like we've talked about in my previous podcasts, but you may not be at that goal at 30. But it's just like the analogy with the guy that is chipping away in the diamond mine, and you see the diamond on the other side, but you don't see, and you see how thin he was. He was one hit away from the diamond, but then he was walking the other way, right? You never truly know how close you are, and that day 30 could be tomorrow. And you can't get there unless you put these daily investments in to yourself, to the people around you, it applies to anything. So I thought that was a really good metaphor and wanted to share it with you and share my takeaway. Hope that you were able to take something away. Maybe you've heard it before, but now you're just listening to me talk about a takeaway. Either way, I appreciate you listening. I think it's definitely something that stuck with me, obviously, and I think I'm going to eventually be swimming in a pond because I'm obsessed with lotus flowers and lily pads. But before we wrap this thing up, I'm trying a new question generator here. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you can see. It's a random question generator. It has a little rubber ducky. So let's see what this one gives me. Oh, well, click for question. What would you do on a free afternoon in the middle of the week? Jump in a pond. No, on a free afternoon in the middle of the week, this is a hard question for me because on the afternoons I'm generally either riding my bike or walking my dog, or jumping in the ocean. So let's go with a new one. Very grateful for that to be a part of my life too. What was your best birthday? My best birthday? It's so cliche. No, I know exactly what it was. I was gonna say my 21st birthday, and that's cliche, but my best birthday was my 22nd birthday when I was still in college, playing college baseball. My family was there to watch me from California in Tennessee, and in baseball, when you walk up to the plate, you have a walk-up song. So it's kind of like your hype song, right? I think my song was like Butterfly Effect by Travis Scott. I thought it was cool. And you always it's kind of your routine, right? Well, on my birthday, I walk up there and 22 by Taylor Swift started playing. And little did I know that the manager on the team changed my walk-up song for the day because it was my birthday. And Taylor Swift starts playing. I'm kind of chuckling, whatever. I thought maybe my family had done it. And not only did we go on to win the game, but in that at-bat, I hit a home run. And I just remember thinking that was the coolest thing ever to do on my birthday in front of my family and hit a home run to some Taylor Swift, because who doesn't love Taylor Swift, right? So that was my best birthday. Ended up having dinner with the fam, hanging out and having a good rest of my 22. All right, that's enough for today. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time on Sunday for a vlog. Have an awesome freaking day, and don't forget to smile.